Hey, John, welcome
Hey.
back. It's time for another Eat Sleep Code, the official Telerik podcast. How is it going with you, my friend?
It's going pretty well. I took a high stick playing ice hockey the other day, so apologies for my disheveled appearance at the moment. It's hard to shave around a scar. I guess that's the risk of playing ice hockey as a Canadian. But other than that, things are going great. Yeah, going really well at Octopus Deploy. Very, very busy. And yeah, looking forward to catching up on the news.
Yeah, it's getting to be a busy time of the year, closing out the 2020s and or 2021. That's how up to speed I am. 2021, and we've got just a few days of work time, I think, between now and the end of the year, with vacations and all that stuff coming up. So expect some intermittent schedules here as well. I have to say though, I've never taken a high sticking incident playing VR. So VR's got one up on you again.
Yeah, I know, right? This is the reality.
All right, John. We should probably cover some news. We've got things to talk about. We got things. There's the obligatory let's just drive John crazy articles.
Sure.
And then there's some good stuff too.
Okay.
So how about a smartphone that costs about $1,200 and needs a cooling fan?
Wow.
Does that sound cool?
It sounds hot, actually.
Asus Republic of Gaming smartphone available in the US. This monster is, I guess, overpowered for what? I don't know. I don't do a whole lot of mobile gaming. Do we need this kind of, like, full-fledged, like, desktop PC rage for a mobile phone?
I'm not sure, but your dog seems to agree that this is a bit much. I think that putting cooling fans on phones is going in the wrong direction. The whole reason why we went to smaller devices and form factors is because we don't want to carry around the VCR equivalent of the 80s of a technology on our shoulders. It seems like a lot. I'm not sure. Why not just get a playing console, like a console or a PC?
Like a Nintendo Switch or something, right? Like, why not?
Sure.
Why not go for like a mobile gaming thing? Like, why try to integrate everything into the phone? So basically, you have a Nintendo Switch that can make phone calls, but yeah, it comes with a Qualcomm Snapdragon 8088, 144 hertz display. That's nice. Okay. I don't mind having that part of it. 6,000 milliamp hour battery. That's I wouldn't say that's too unique here.
No.
Some of the birds agree. The birds. We have the animals.
Yeah, sorry about that. It's raining here. We got all the birds are going crazy. Sorry about that.
This is like high-end audio. So they're shooting for the high-end audience. I get that, but like, check this guy out. We've got the attachable cooling fan.
Oh my goodness! Wow, why?
Extra.
Why?
Because it lowers the surface temperature by 15 degrees C. That's why. So if it drops it by 15 to if
it's right in your pocket,
by 15 C, that's what it's bringing it down. What is it at when it doesn't have the cooling fan on it, right? Yeah, is it too hot to handle? Is it like burning your hands while you play?
I don't like this. I think this is not good. So yes, let's move on. I think we've done this one to death.
What does a 65-watt charger look like too? Like, is this thing like a brick, like a literal brick that you bring around to charge your phone? Yeah. It's interesting. Not saying I'm the target audience here. This is.
I'm not even sure if it's that interesting, to be honest. I think this is ridiculous, but whatever.
Well, I mean, I'm saying interesting from like the perspective of, oh, that's an acquired taste.
Well, it's like the people who put spoilers on their crappy cars. I mean, it's too much. You're not really going to move the vehicle that fast that you're going to actually need the spoiler. And this is going in the opposite direction. You put way too much horsepower into a small form factor that can't even be cooled. You need a supplemental device to keep it cooled. Why are we doing this? Anyway.
Yeah, I don't quite get it either.
Okay.
It looks like they have one game that is launching with this. I don't think that's actually even necessary to play the game, but yeah, I don't know. This one baffles me. I thought it was funny. There's a market for this somewhere apparently, and Asus is selling to it. So good on them, I guess.
Very good.
This I thought was interesting. So they're looking at ways to augment bone with sensors. So these are implanted sensors that can tell you information about your bone, like strength, density, things like that, to detect illness ahead of time. Be interesting to see like what your body does and reacts to something like this. Is it going to reject such a thing? But apparently, it's NFC technology, so there's no battery inside of it. You can embed it and then beam electricity to it, from the NFC, decoupled, what's it called? Decoupled transformer. So yeah, that's pretty interesting stuff. I could see things like this becoming pretty useful. I don't know with our culture these days if people will reject things like this. I'm sure the vast majority of people aren't tuning into conspiracy theories, but I think there'll probably be an outlier here and there that's like, you're not putting that thing in me to track me.
Yeah.
But it's still pretty cool.
This is about as like, for folks who want to know what actual 5G looks like going into your body, this could be closer to the equivalent as opposed to a syringe full with a liquid.
Yeah.
We are not at the point yet where we can miniaturize things that well. This to me is an interesting application. I don't know how practical it is, to be honest, because you have a particular site of the bone that you're grafted to. If it's made from sterile materials, which obviously it would be, I don't think your body would reject it. I think it would just, say, yeah, whatever. I don't know what you would get I don't know what this gives you over a high density bone scan that we have today with nuclear imaging. My father's a radiologist, and so I've seen a lot of the scans that they do. And so I know that they can get quite high resolution and quite good data from those things. So I'm not really sure. I haven't read this article, but I'm not really sure why. But this would be a great use of the technology. Maybe it's because we can. It's one of those things. But yeah, telemetry in the form of biomarkers, etc., I think is always a good thing if you're concerned about those things.
I am reading something that is pretty interesting here. So it says the team tested the device on animals. I can see more of a market there as somebody who lives in like the horse capital of the United States, Kentucky, where they do a lot of horse racing and things. And, you talk about imaging, imaging a person is one thing. Imaging an enormous animal is a whole other thing.
Sure.
So if
the animals don't mind it too much. And yeah, as far as grafting devices into the body, I think Neuralink from Elon and friends has probably the most potential. There, we're trying to actually impact the input-output signals from the brain to help folks with various neurodegenerative diseases, etc. And it's sort of the Matrix, put a spike in the back of my head type style of learning, I guess, is the long-term vision for that. And so I see a more practical use in that, being able to put a sort of like a man-in-the-middle attack where you inject a device in the IO channel of your brain to help deal with some of these neurodegenerative symptoms. This on a bone graft, I don't know. It's just, I don't know. It's just interesting. So,
yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. The scale that they're doing this at too is pretty fascinating.
Oh, sure. Yep.
So speaking of CPUs, a little less invasive this time. Benchmarking the Apple M1 Max.
Ooh, Max, so this is the I know, maximum power. This is the I guess this is the Nintendo power glove of most developers these days. So the M1 Max is the flagship CPU, I guess, environment for Mac OS today. It's the most powerful platform you can purchase, and was announced or shipped a few months ago in the MacBook Pros. And the performance of it has been mostly anecdotal. And this is one of the ones where they talk a great deal about the actual performance you see in a variety of tests. The vast majority of tests that are run here are in Python, which is fine. Python's a great little scripting language for doing numerical analysis, etc., which is why it's popular in a variety of environments. And so this is more analytical, which I like to see, more analytical mathematical data to basically underscore or underpin the notion that the M1 Max is an awesome CPU. And by all accounts, it seems to be. I think Apple is benefiting from their, system on a chip architecture more than anything by creating a much shorter connection between the data bus, the memory, the CPU, etc., and integrating that all. It seems like they're getting a lot of wins out of that, which is great. The CPU itself, I don't know much about. I'm not a hardware guy. I'm more of a software guy, but by all accounts, it seems like this is a pretty awesome platform. And if you're fortunate enough, despite what we said last week about the M1, there's people who are having problems with it. It looks like this would be a nice upgrade if you're looking to upgrade.
Yeah, I was just kind of digging through some of these benchmarks while you're talking to try to figure out exactly where this thing lies. It's really something I probably want to read into a little bit more later after the show.
Sure. Yeah, the data's there. People are experimenting. So
I'm looking to try to figure out where this fits on a scale of like x86.
Well, they're apples and chairs, really, because they've got different instruction sets and they do things differently. And so they're very hard to compare in that way, I think. Knowing I'm
it is
kind of
true,
dating myself. Yeah, trying to remember back to my ComSci days of instruction sets and processing and all that sort of stuff. x86 is a well-established but legacy architecture from an instruction set perspective. It has a lot of capabilities, but it's well supported. Whereas Apple and other instruction set architectures, RISC, etc., that sort of ilk, other CPU instruction sets, they differ greatly in terms of the operations and the priorities that they have. There are certain CPUs that have been generated or made for very specific problem domains. So yeah, they differ. Whereas x86 is very general and used widely across usually widely across the Windows ecosystem.
Yeah, and this is one of the areas I keep trying to rationalize with people that my desktop PC, no matter how great this M1 Max is supposed to be, my desktop PC is going to just put it to shame when it comes to certain tasks. This is one of those things. So TensorFlow here, machine learning and training, doesn't hold a candle to, and it shouldn't, but people, tend to not consider these things when they're talking about hardware. It doesn't hold a candle to a desktop running like a 3990 Nvidia GPU. I mean, it's, those things are dedicated platforms for doing things like machine learning and stuff. You're not going to, no matter how great that M1 chip is, it's, it's not going to be perfect.
No.
Yeah, it's not going to scale to this, but it depends on what the task is. Like, what are you trying to do with the machine that you're buying? If you're doing a lot of like high batch machine learning operations or gaming or anything like 3D processor intensive in video, this isn't the right choice for you, probably. But if you're, doing, compilation of programs and day-to-day, just computing tasks, then the M1's going to be more than powerful enough for most people.
Let's not forget that the M1 itself, its design benefits in a number of different ways beyond just raw performance. It is exceptional battery life. The GPU is part of that system on a chip design. So there are a lot of wins that Apple gets by providing this sort of architecture. I would argue quite strongly that if you've got a Mac that's probably about 3 or more years old, then you should consider upgrading. Especially if you're in a portable setting, meaning you have a MacBook, the battery life alone is worth the conversion, I think, from what I've heard.
Yeah, it looks like it holds its own against some of the older GPUs, which is something I talked about before. This person looks like they have a AMD 5600X. I don't know what generation that is, but it's probably not something that's, too old, but not brand new either. And it looks like the M1 is beating it pretty good here.
Yeah, it's going to smoke most of those GPU instruction sets that fall in that 1050, 1060 range. I don't know how it compares to the 260 range GPU sets. I think that those ones are still out a little bit in front, but I think it's comparable. From what I've heard, it's actually pretty close.
Yeah, but it sets a new baseline, and yeah, I like that it sets a baseline. So that gives developers a rough guess as to what systems are capable of, and they could build more 3D accelerated things into your normal day-to-day programs without people having to worry about what GPU they're running.
Yes,
and having to have a computer like I have just to run the latest software. So
yes. Now, what would be interesting, and people will grab it. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say what was going to be interesting is now if you take this out of the portable setting with the MacBook Pro and you put it into a desktop setting with the Mac Pro, what is capable there? We don't know, but it will be interesting to watch.
Absolutely. And you don't need a big beefy GPU
yes,
or
I know.
CPU if you're running .NET, because it's just so much faster these days. So .NET 6 versus .NET 5, 40% speed up.
Yeah, I mean, some of these things are pretty trivial in terms of their operations, but the reality is that .NET 6 is now available for those who missed the announcement. You can download it today. I've actually got it running. I downloaded today the runtime on my Mac and used it for a program I was using. So .NET 6 is available, and they've done a lot of performance work, which is great. It looks like you've got a slide to cover this, so I'll shut up.
No, go ahead. Keep talking.
No, just saying, this is what happens with software. We get better and better, and so we try and improve throughput, and we try to improve or create optimizations where you're dealing with large amounts of memory or a lot of I/O or whatever. So and these benefits will differ in terms of your use case. So if you're a web developer, you may see a huge performance in terms of throughput. If you're a numbers person working with numbers and doing a lot of crunching, you may see smaller crunch times. I don't know. I'm kind of just shooting from the hip here, but basically the performance in .NET 6 is significantly better. And this article basically does a comparison between the reads and writes that you'll see typically via the Fusion performance tests. And so there's an article linked on this one, which talks about the performance of .NET 5 from November 2020, and then kind of talks about it in that context. So Fusion is basically it's a framework for building real-time apps, and it's used including support for Blazor, etc. So that's the framework in which they are testing it. So
nice, yeah. So these are a different set of benchmarks from the slide. I was showing the comparison with something like Node.js, and this is just raw. What do you call it? Request performance. So serving up requests from a web server. It's .NET is just killing it in this space now. It took a couple cycles for them to get here, but they set out. What was it, about 3 or probably 5 years ago? They wanted to just kill it in this category, and every .NET release since has been a major speed increase. And it took a lot of rewriting. They rewrote a lot of the underpinnings to be more memory performant and CPU performant. So they added the span classes, span of or types, span of T, and they underpinned a lot of the .NET framework in that. So that's not something that normal 9 to 5 developers are going to be utilizing directly. Like, how often are you writing a span of T, John? It's not something that's in everybody's tool belt. But for the guys that are writing the framework and the libraries that sit just barely on top of it, this has provided a major speed boost and they just keep on pulling these things out of their hat, man.
Yeah, for those sorts of things, obviously, it really depends, and your mileage may vary. You may actually download this and run it and see no marked difference. I know that Stephen Taub has written extensively about this. He's doing a lot of performance work at Microsoft. Where you might see this come about is if you're doing a lot of work with financial data, if you're doing a lot of I/O, things like that, potentially. And Tech Empower has been doing these web performance benchmarks, these web framework performance benchmarks for a while. So it is an interesting test. In this example that you're seeing here, this is with a framework called Fusion, which is a .NET library. So this is one person's observations with their framework. But yeah, there's a lot of different tests that you can run.
Yeah, we've seen some speed increases on the Telerik side of things.
Oh, great.
So customers that are using the latest, Telerik reporting is they're getting a major benefit off of the fact that we switched from .NET Framework to .NET Core, and then .NET Core to .NET 5. There's been like massive increases on the reporting server itself. So they're trying to remember which update it came in, but we had an instance where things were handled in a more parallel way with the latest versions of .NET plus the speed increases. So things like HTTP2 have been added on top of these speed performances. So you've got like this compound performance gain, and the speed between like the prior version of report server versus the new one is just, they're not even close. Like
I think are you referring to HTTP2 or HTTP3? Because I think it's HTTP3 that they've got.
HTTP2.
Okay.
I think
in .NET 6
we got because you get parallel resource requests in HTTP2. So awesome. For example, on the just old school .NET, you would have using not the latest HTTP, but you'd get like a page that has several resources that it needs. It has to fetch those resources serially. So you're going to go through and get script.js 1 and then 2 and then 3. You can do that in parallel now with HTTP2. And
you can also give hints as well through the browser. There's a lot of different ways to, like, this is why the web's difficult.
You defer
a lot of different, and also there's script blocking and
so you've got that, and then you've got these increases that we see, like this and the slide I just showed on top of that. And then you've got something like report server that has very, heavy report building tool and stuff like that involved. So you're basically loading what is essentially an IDE into your browser.
Right.
And with all of these .NET improvements, like we've seen that tool just go crazy in the speed department.
Yes. So awesome stuff.
Good. Yes, amazing. And speaking of updates here, give us a little shameless plug for a minute.
All right.
We normally have 3 releases a year that we coin as our major releases at Progress on the Telerik products. But what we've been doing is shipping pretty much every month lately.
That's awesome.
So just for October, we had to split this blog post into a 13-point table of contents just to cover all of the things that shipped just this month. So we've got, support for .NET 6 and Visual Studio. So all the plugins that we have for Visual Studio are compatible. Angular 13 support, React components, jQuery updates, new Blazor components and tooling, all sorts of awesome stuff in here. Telerik reporting and report server updates, JustMock, all that stuff is just dropping new bits all through.
It's a humble brag if I ever have to say so. So
yeah, Yeah, well, a lot of the stuff we've been working on pretty diligently, but waiting for .NET 6 to finally ship.
Yes,
So we've had
of
like
course.
a lot of preview bits in this big stack of things,
Yep.
and now those previews are officially supported. So we can finally, we could talk about them before, but we couldn't really advertise what we've done because you get people that want support,
Oh, sure.
and we
Yeah,
weren't
yeah.
quite
Yeah, yeah.
ready to do that yet. So now we do, and 0-day support for Angular 13. That's huge. New components for jQuery. There's one in here that I'd love to highlight. We take accessibility very seriously. I'm trying to find that guy in here. We've got a new accessibility component in our Telerik color picker. So
Oh,
here it
okay.
is. This is an awesome demo here. So this is ASP.NET Core. We have it some of our other platforms as well. I think it's on Angular and possibly React as well.
Okay.
But what you can do here is, and the browser can do this, right? So that's not where the real innovation is here. The innovation of this is something that you can provide your users of your own custom software. So for example, you've got like some reporting or something where your end user can customize colors in the UI for something. Maybe there's a line item that they have control over the foreground and background colors on.
Right.
What you have here is a color picker that shows your accessibility within it. So if I'm picking my colors for this, custom thing on my display, I can make sure that people with visual sensitivities can read these elements. So you've got it choosing between the background and foreground colors. Yes. And if you're outside on the lower half if you're in the area under the curve here, you're getting the AA and AAA compliance. If you go above that, you can see these contrasts are going to be hard for people to see.
Understood.
So this is a way for you to supply this UI, which, like, again, it's in your dev tools, but this lets you supply that to your custom software as well. So I think that's like that. Really cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
Yeah. So that's one of the things that dropped. And of course, all the new .NET 6 bits and compatibilities. We've got previews for Maui that came out, all sorts of stuff, extensions for Visual Studio with all sorts of new features. It just keeps going and going. And that's not all. We should run an ad here, John. I've got a special ad for folks. If you haven't seen Blazor Rebel yet.
Sick of all that messing and fussing just to share your Blazor demos? Well, fuss no more. Introducing Telerik Rebel for Blazor. With Telerik Rebel for Blazor, it's the perfect tool to write, run, and share your Blazor snippets and demos. Our easy-to-use online editor makes sharing your cool new demos as simple as writing code and clicking share. And why stop there? Have you ever wanted to share a live Blazor demo directly on your blog? No problem. Just click embed. It's just that easy. Install your favorite NuGet packages and try them live in the browser. You can even access all 95 Telerik UI for Blazor components in a variety of colors your friends will be sure to enjoy. But that's not all. Install the Telerik extension for Visual Studio or VS Code and share directly from your editor. Oh, amazing! Just visit blazorrebel.telerik.com and use it free now.
Do not use or operate Blazor Rebel if you're allergic to Blazor Rebel or one of its ingredients.
Nice.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. This is nice. I like it.
Blazor Rebel is pretty freaking awesome. So that was built by our awesome engineers on the Telerik UI for Blazor team, and we're just getting started with that thing. So it's got a lot of amazing features already, but we're continuing to add things to it. So I thought I'd make a little fun video, kind of poking at parroting those abysmal, like, made for or as seen on TV.
Yeah.
As seen on TV products. But they've, you've always got the obligatory, like, person that can't use the most simple of tools. They've always got to fumble with whatever it is. And then of course you got to have the over the top like transitions with the it's either amazing, it's amazing, or it's something that you got to tell your friends about, or hopefully you've seen these commercials or you totally just trying to figure out what the hell I'm talking about. But that's not all. You've got to have these, crucial elements in these videos, right?
Yeah, I'm just looking at parts of the interface here. I'm playing around with it. It's got some errorless checking. It's got some underlying source file syntax highlighting, which is cool. Package manager, so you can import your packages to include in your application, and an asset manager for coloring it. That's kind of nice. Static asset manager as well. Nice. I like it.
Yeah. Act now. Call now. Your operators are standing by.
They're never standing by. That's the thing. Yeah. That's my favorite thing about those infomercials. They're like, if you're one of the first 50 callers, we'll send you a free gift. And it's like, no, everyone gets the free gift. They're just saying, okay, just put a time sensitivity on it so that everyone rushes to the phone. So
yeah, absolutely.
Did I get the free
gift? Those commercials are so campy. You have to either love them or laugh at them. And it's the perfect time of year for these things. You'll start seeing them on TV again because it's it's the gift giving season. So
most wonderful time of the year.
Yeah, when everybody goes in debt trying to please one another. Fantastic. Okay. Bah humbug. Spoken from a true father of four, right?
Okay. Yes.
Yeah. Those. Anyhow. Announcing TypeScript 4.5.
Yes. So obviously, in the same vein as Telerik Progress shipping monthly, TypeScript is continuing on its journey. This is kind of falling in line with the sort of same ship cycle you see with VS Code. So TypeScript 4.5 has a lot of major highlights to cite. But generally speaking, if you're a TypeScript developer, this is more of an iterative sort of release. There are some things that are really nice. There are some things that are kind of, sort of things. So generally speaking, TypeScript continues on this march towards world domination. It seems to be being used everywhere. We at Octopus Deploy have just recently published an API client for in TypeScript as well. So we're grabbing that and running with it. And so TypeScript is, a really good language. I find it quite comfortable to be in. I don't find it too difficult to pick up and run with. And I do a lot of context switching from a variety of languages to other ones as well. So, so some of the improvements we're citing, they've got this new awaited type that allows you to implement a certain pattern. Yes. So typically you get these nested promises, etc. And so in TypeScript code. And so they have this awaited type, which is allowed to basically model the ways in which you would handle those things over and over again. They've got support for lib and node modules. They've got template string types as discriminates. They've got support for ES 2022, tail recursion elimination on conditional types, disabling a variety of capabilities and features if you need to turn those off, type modifiers on import names. So there's a lot of things worth mentioning here. And so TypeScript 4.5 has got a lot of things worth mentioning. And so if you want to check out the article, you can. Yeah, definitely stuff to take a look at.
And they're moving fast on that thing. It's nice to see, though, a lot of the stuff that's pertinent to like C# development gets kind of adopted into that as well. And C# things end up in TypeScript. Microsoft, we were talking to Jeff Fritz on our show, and he said, every month or a couple months they get together with the language teams and they all kind of powwow to talk about what they're working on, and then they start cherry picking from one another things that they've implemented that have worked well and might make their language better. So that's nice to see them adopting one another's ideas and stuff.
Yeah, I know the team's already working on TypeScript 4.6, so get ready for that.
HashiCorp Vault.
Yeah. So HashiCorp is got a lot of great products under its belt. They're the makers of Terraform, amongst other things. They have a product called Vault, which is for basically its name is apt. It's basically a location where you can store secrets. And so Vault and other solutions like this provide a means of having a secure location for application credentials that you want to be utilized in application libraries, etc. And so HashiCorp Vault is basically a solution to provide that in a consistent, organized manner that makes sense and integrates across your organization. And you might wonder, like, why would I need this? Like, you can think of it, it's somewhat akin to having 1Password, but for your infrastructure, basically. So if you use these solutions like 1Password and LastPass, those are great for the individual. But often you want to see that across an organization or infrastructure or product. And so tools like, or products like Vault and others, there are many, provide that same solution. And it allows you to persist a variety of secrets. And so Vault 1.9 has come out and added a bunch of capabilities as well, just like TypeScript has added a bunch of capabilities. So we've cited the article there, and it's typically something that you see in a lot of organizations. So it was bear mentioning.
Nice. Yeah, we always like to close out the show with some Metaverse stuff. I've got to get a good Metaverse stinger. Good, like, like our Doom stinger. We need one for the Metaverse. But this one I think you'll like, John. So we've talked about digital twins before on the show. I don't know if you remember talking about digital twins. So
I'm an
Nvidia
actual twin, by the way. I know all about this.
Yes,
I have a twin sister.
That is true. It's true. I've seen. You say that we haven't met in person, but I've at least seen you share things about your sister before.
Yeah.
So the idea of a digital twin is you have a carbon copy. Surely Dev's got the ultimate question right there. Who's older, John?
Oh, me. 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
I gave a sharp elbow on the way out and got out first.
That's bragging rights there. 10 minutes. Yes, that's not like 30 seconds. That's like a whole head start on life.
Sure.
So digital twin, you have what is as close as you can get to a carbon copy of the real world thing, whether it even exists yet or not. So you could think of it that way. You may have a digital twin of something that you're going to build and haven't built yet too. And the idea here is you can hash out problems with that twin before you run into them in real life. So Nvidia is attempting to do this with an Earth 2, which is a climate model. So they're trying to model climate change. So they essentially have a digital twin. It's a, quote, full-on global 3D metaverse simulation of the Earth to predict climate change more accurately.
Okay.
So
okay, I don't have a problem with this. I think this is fine. I thought this was a, enter Earth 2 and leave this Earth, and ours is going to be a better one type deal. I do like the site, though. This looks really reputable. Tech News World. I've never heard of this site, but I love their logo. So, yeah, I mean, simulations like this are obviously valuable to give us insights as to what will happen in the future. We have to run these all the time for weather and whatnot. So, if this is accurate and it works out, great. If it informs people about what's potentially on our radar in the future, then great. No problem.
Yeah, I don't know if they're taking.
I thought this was put a mask on your face and enter Earth World 2, and
well,
they
do get into a little bit of that here. I was going to ask you about this, John. Creating digital twins of ourselves. First of all, if you're already twins and you create digital twins, does that make you quadruplets? I don't know.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. So it says eventually Earth 2 would need to be populated. Ideally, you would be populated by a digital twin of us. While on Earth 2, they would have to die as we do. Okay, that's creepy. But nothing says they have to stay dead. It's even more creepy. Yeah. So once those virtual people pass from Earth 2, they could end up in Earth 3 afterlife. This is weird. I don't understand where they're going with this. I think the editor just took some creative liberties here. I don't know. Anyway, I digress. It was a good article. I don't want to ruin it. I think that's something that could be very useful if they could, figure out, how we can make meaningful changes that could affect the environment in a positive way. And then this one also, I think, has use. I may have to do some convincing of John here, but I like this one as well.
No, this one's okay. I don't mind these sorts of things.
Dent Reality. Never heard of Dent before. Ooh, I'm getting kicked off the page. Raises $3.4 million to bring augmented reality into groceries. I think this is a cool idea, although it's not the first time I've seen this. This isn't necessarily something new or original. But I do like this idea. Some of it's about navigation.
Yes.
So they show in this demo, you search for that item and they're like, hey, this is where you find that thing in the store.
It's always hard to find the person. It's always hard to find the person when you're looking for the thing. And they never put the thing in the place where it makes logical sense. You go to the spice area, you figure, okay, I'll find salsa here. And no, salsa is in this other area. Or you look for milk and you think it's among the yogurt and cheese. And no, it's actually in this separate area. So I could use something like this because I find myself lost in the grocery store all the time.
Yeah. So true story. Like, I'm going through the store one day and like I pass by another guy that's in the store and, I go down the next aisle and coming in the opposite direction, same guy. And then the next aisle, opposite direction, same guy. And about the third or fourth time we passed by each other, I stopped him and I said, dude, so you're lost too, aren't you? And he's like, yep, I am.
Yeah, most men and husbands who go into a grocery store enter this version of snake game. Like if you were to actually look down on the grocery store, you just see us going back and forth up each aisle. And of course, everyone, you should always go to the edges of the grocery store when shopping for food. That's where the real stuff is. But you definitely play that snake game going back and forth in between the aisles. And then I do the one where you're looking for your wife or girlfriend and you're kind of doing you're doing the drive-by. That scene where you got the cop car and the bad guy that driving and they're looking down the alleyways at each other. It's the same thing. My wife's going and I'm looking like this, like trying to find her and all that. So yeah, the games we play, something like this, if this could help, great. I mean, there are sort of inklings here of the Pokemon, whatever that Pokemon game is where you go to the special places. It's sort of like that, I guess. I have no problem with augmented reality. I think it actually has a good purpose. It's when you put things on your face and you're walking around like, you're almost better than everyone. It's like, out of my way, people. I'm in a virtual environment which trumps your reality, and they're just like bonking into walls and
I mean, this could be used with a heads-up display, though. I mean, this could be on.
Why you don't need? It's not like you're
because then you don't have to look. You don't have to walk around the store like this.
Yeah,
you walk around like a normal person with glasses on, and you get to see the things that you're looking for.
Fine, whatever. I just like how
this could be
Ghost. This isn't Ghost Recon. It's not like you need a HUD and like I gotta find the eggs. Go, sort of thing. So, anyway.
This could be super helpful for other things as well. So like I think they're pitching this as a perspective of just a normal 9-to-5 shopper.
Sure.
But this could be, your Uber guy. What is that called? Not Uber Eats. Is it Uber Eats?
Yes.
Uber Eats just does.
Yes.
They do shopping too. They do shopping
too. There's all kinds of
click list or whatever. You know what I'm getting at.
Yes, exactly. This could be great for finding your seats at a stadium, for example.
Yeah. Yep. There's a whole lot of different uses for this.
Or movie tickets. Or they're very niche though. That's the thing. Like they're very one-off and it's like, okay, I got it. And then you'll never use the app again. I think what they need to do is provide someone needs to write a platform that just provides a platform solution that vendors can plug into. So if I'm a movie theater, I can actually provide a map that's in a specified format. And this is, I can see someone like Google or Apple building something like this into their maps, where it's like, it's not just driving directions, it's now personable directions. And the idea is that
Google already has
as a vendor, like I'm a movie theater or I'm a stadium, I give Apple or Google or whoever the specification format of describing how these things work. And then I just pull up the app, the Maps app, and it just guides me to that place. I know Google Maps has a bit of this in their Android devices. Yep, you're showing this right now. So they have a bit of that. I don't know if this is pluggable. That's the only thing I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think it is. I think it's completely controlled yet.
Yeah.
If they could monetize it, I'm sure it will be pluggable eventually.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's probably already people, big corporations that have access to Google doing.
Sure. It makes sense, right? Because they don't know their stores or places as well as, say, the companies that own them, for example. And so, you could as a building management, describe the layout of your building in terms of floors and whatnot, and then you just bring up what you need is a generic app. You need an app that anyone can use, whether it's built into the platform or not, and then you need a means by which you can actually plug into that app. And so that's what I'm advocating. These one-off scenarios where you're just saying, here's the movie app. You're like, okay, I'm going to use it once to find my seat, and I'm going to delete it.
Yeah, these would be super helpful in airports.
Sure.
Navigating between flight changes and things. Anyway, we could go on and on about this, but yeah, I like the whole navigation bits, and I could see this being totally useful with glasses as well, especially if you're traveling. You get off your plane and in your glasses. It's like you're exit the plane, go through terminal A to F on the train, and then you're hop back on your plane. You're good to go.
I know, as a seasoned traveler, if this reduces the amount of loud talking people in the airport on their cell phones while eating a Sbarro pizza, I'm all for it. But yeah, I mean, you get these people who have no interpersonal awareness. They're just like talking at a 10, and they're like walking through the terminal, and they're just bonking into things and such. Sorry, I'm getting off on a rant here, but yeah, I think no,
it's totally accurate.
Idea. Yeah,
somebody who's traveled a bit as well, I think like the last time I traveled, which was just a few weeks ago, we worry about like HIPAA compliance and all of this stuff, so we don't spread our medical details like all over the place. And this woman's like shouting her like medical situation like across the entire airport as she talks to her friend. It's like, dude, we do not need to know this much about you. Like, keep it to yourself a little bit. At least hint at stuff. Like, we don't need to know the entire procedure and how it was done.
Fair enough.
But anyway, that's all we got for today, John. That's it.
Yeah,
it's
probably enough.
Going to be a little bit slower news over the next few weeks here, I think. I was honestly trying to find things to talk about, and I was being bombarded with like, this device is the cheapest it's ever been for Black Friday. Like, that was like 90% of the headlines this week. I think we're going to see a lot more of that. Tech news seems to slow down at the end of the year. Things get announced in the spring as first quarter starts to hit for companies. So we'll keep doing the show. We'll find stuff interesting to talk about, I'm sure. But it was a little light this week.
I think that's all right.
But thanks again for joining me, John, in chat room as well.
All good.
Tomorrow I have a session, or not a session, but a stream. Will eventually become a session. This is a good experiment that I just ran. I'll give you a little insight as to what we're talking about. So I thought, what if? And I realize other people are doing this, but I don't think it's being done as much as one would hope.
Okay.
I wanted a good example of accessibility. So I found this article on W3.org. It's this accordion component that they give you the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript source code for.
Yes.
And it's really nicely specced out. Like, it tells you what the component needs to do, how the keyboard is supported, and what every action should do when you press it. And then it gives you kind of specs on the accessibility bits, what each element is and the attributes applied, and what the usage of them accessibility wise is. I thought, hey, that's great information. Then, top it off with some source code. I figured, what if I could take these specs, bake them into unit tests, even this keyboard stuff, bake them into unit tests, and then write a Blazor component based on the specs in the HTML that was provided. So I did that, and man, did I learn a lot. So that's what I'm going to talk about tomorrow.
Awesome.
And I'm going to have Chris DeMars, accessibility expert, join me to talk through some of these bullet points, because even though I implemented them and I did learn a bit about all of these things, I've still got some questions as to like what they're for and why we do them, just so I can understand this all better. And we'll go through some of the unit tests and kind of just walk through the process that I used. And I think this is a good repeatable process. Again, it's probably not the 100% unique. I did catch a little bit of some React articles that were talking about doing something like this. But I haven't heard people talking about this before. So if it's being done, it's being done very quietly. And I think that's something that needs to change. So basically you get some guarantee of accessibility before you even start beginning building things. And I think that is a win. And then of course you can always overlap testing with, end-to-end tests and proper accessibility tests at the application level. But at the component level, this is still giving you some guarantees that certain attributes are going to be there and that your keyboard navigations and things are working before you even get to the level where somebody from QA is going to end up touching this and having to, report it back as not working.
Right.
So cool stuff there. I'll chat more about that tomorrow on the Blazor Power Hour. And should be some good educational material there.
I like it.
Any final words, John? Any thoughts?
No, we're just experiencing a lot of rain here, so I got to go, I guess, to make sure my roof isn't leaking.
Uh-oh. Well, I hope everything's in a dry state there. And I don't think you do any turkey eating this week down there, right?
Not yet, no.
That's a very U.S. holiday, but we've got Thanksgiving coming up next week. It's an odd holiday here, but we still managed to do it. I like the gathering and eating part of it, so that's all good. And we'll probably take a break on some of our shows next week because, or actually this week, sorry. Wednesday will probably be one of the last shows for the week. Most of us have Thursday and Friday off, and we will see you all next week. So take care, John, and chat.
All right,
we'll see you soon.